May I? Well, we have one guy out before you.
Oh.
Yeah, he's in the shrimp eating contest. And then we're going to, no, Andy, then we're going to introduce you.
Until 10 o'clock, and now it's like pre-interview.
5 minutes, 5 minutes.
I saw you go to the town, I was like,
Am I going to tell him or somebody else? So, you can tell him.
This is Beach Talk Radio.
I'm going to go over this way.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the table alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting live 100 feet from the Gulf of America. Here are your award-winning social media superstars, the hosts of Beach Talk Radio, Kim and Ed Ryan.
Thank you, Ben. Ladies and gentlemen, Ben is here, popped in from Tuna Skin. A big hand for Tuna Skin. We love Tuna Skin. He's got a tent outside on Old San Carlos. And as part of the Shrimp Festival weekend, which the parade yesterday was fabulous. Did you all see the parade? It was amazing. And we want to say congratulations to the Lions Club. And thank you to Lee County Sheriff's Department. And thank you to Cypress Lakes High School for being out there and putting on the 5K race, which you ran in.
I did. I ran in it. But at first, the parade, I was really, really impressed with how many more floats and everything this year. There was a lot of things to look at, a lot of entertainment. The calendar girls were phenomenal as usual. They always every time. He has 2 hours, folks, to set up, and yet here we are. He's got a new computer.
So let me tell the story. Hopefully this is okay, Greg. The yesterday
when we so dark.
Yesterday when we started to broadcast the parade, my laptop would not power up. There was it would not come on. It was not working at all. And so I put it out like an APB to everybody I knew at Margaritaville. And of course, the CEO of the company, Tom Torgerson, walks over with his laptop. So he puts his laptop down and we both look at each other like, okay, well, how do you turn it on? Like neither one of us could figure out how to turn it on because it doesn't have a regular power switch anymore. You got to go like on the keyboard is where the power switches are these days. So he's like, you got to call my wife. It's her laptop. So he says, okay. I said, okay, Tom, can you call Mary? He goes, no, I didn't bring my phone. I said, okay, well, my daughter is standing there. So I grabbed her phone and he goes, well, I don't know her number. Nobody knows the husband's phone numbers.
You know what mine is, right?
Yeah. So we can't call Mary because he doesn't know his wife's phone number. So now I do have her contact in my phone. So, but my phone was streaming the race live. So I had to shut the race off on my phone, finally get she tells us how to power it up because, like 2 idiots can't figure out how to turn on a computer. We get the computer.
I had no part in that.
Yeah, we turned the computer on finally. And I said, did you bring a power cord? And Mary says, no, it's fully powered. Of course, before the parade ended, the power went down. So the computer shut off. The good news is we sold $1,100 worth of shrimp hats yesterday for the Lions Club. So everybody wanted a shrimp hat. And, the parade was fabulous. And it really was a nice crowd yesterday.
The run was good. But I will tell you, that competition was deep in that race yesterday. There was 370-ish.
Wow.
Plus runners.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
there
great.
was a lot.
And I think people like the fact that they started and finished right at the base of the bridge. In previous years, you had to start at Dock Fords, and there were wasn't enough room.
Around, no.
And
so you could come down that hill. I was like, reminded me of being a kid running down that hill with your arms and legs all akimbo, and you're just like flying down there.
Yeah, and so to finish my story about the laptop,
which was putting everyone to sleep anyways, but sure, go ahead.
So at the end of the day yesterday, we have to go to Costco to buy a brand new laptop, and so this is a brand new laptop, which I couldn't get to work before the show started, but It is brand new, and I thank everybody for helping out.
And you took out the warranty on
I
it.
took out a 3-year
So,
warranty to make sure we
As
had
long
this
as
laptop.
it has an accident, it's covered.
Yes. So today, obviously, the Shrimp Festival continues today. The Shrimp Boil is over by, is it today too, the Shrimp Boil? They do it 2 days? They do it
Would
2 days.
imagine
Over
that
by the Cigar Hut parking lot in between the Cigar Hut.
$20, you get a half pound of shrimp and coleslaw, and yes, it's the pink gold. It's not this small farm raised whatever that is shrimp. It's like the real stuff.
And Drew said they sold like I don't know, he said 400 of them yesterday. So they're doing a lot of great fundraising for the Lions Club. At 2:00 today, there's a shrimp eating contest, which is, if you've never seen that, we are going to stream it live on our Facebook and YouTube Facebook page today at 2:00. And that's down at Sandy Bottom. So if you have a little bit to eat or drink this morning, you want to work off some calories, you can walk down to Sandy Bottom. And it'll be set up right outside where their future restaurant and tiki bar is going to be. And we are sponsoring one of the eaters today. So we want to introduce Craig. Come on down. Craig is going to be wearing the Yellow Army shirt today at Sandy Bottom, and he'll be eating shrimp. And Craig, don't touch anything. Don't touch anything other than the microphone, Craig. I'm just testing everything out here. So, how are you? Nice and close
And
with
don't
the
eat
mic?
anything now,
Yes.
right? So, what is your plan for the
Strategy.
shrimp? What is your strategy for these events? Do you fast in advance, or do you eat a lot and stretch your stomach out? What do you do?
No strategy. They tell me to start eating, and I don't stop until they tell me to stop eating.
Now, tell everybody who you are so that they know to root
Absolutely.
for you. And
Yeah. But so my name is Craig, but I go by the name Cajun Trash Can every year.
Cajun Trash
yep.
Can. Interesting.
That's like your trail name. That's like your shrimp eating name, right?
It's my.
Or that's your
It's
name
my
name.
eating persona.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now, did you run for office in Sanibel? Somebody told me you were running for.
No. I work for the city.
Oh, you
Yep.
still work for the
I
city.
do, I
and do
do.
they call you Trash Can over in Sanibel? Is that what they call you over there?
CT for short.
Yes, I see. And what do you do over there?
I'm a city planner.
City planner.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So how are things going at Sanibel?
Well, they're going. You
Yeah.
know, we're all in recovery together, and it's great to have events like this to bring people together and support communities in need.
Yeah.
And I know that's what the Lions Club's trying to do here today.
Yeah, and Sanibel had an election on Tuesday. They, I don't know if anybody even knew that. They had 4 people running for 3 seats or 3 people running for 2 seats. And whoever was on the council won.
That's right.
Yeah, three incumbents ran, I think, right?
Correct.
3, yeah, 3.
So how did you get into the shrimp eating business?
Well, so it was a friend of mine that on Sanibel that asked me to do it. This was about 7 or 8 years ago. This year will be, I think, my 5th year doing it. It's a
And
great
how many
time.
times have you won?
I've never won.
You've never
Oh,
won.
this is
until this year.
Yeah.
This is gonna be your year.
How much shrimp do you think you need to eat in order to win today? What is the goal poundage?
My personal best poundage is 4 pounds. I'd like to get to 5 pounds this year.
4
We'll see.
pounds of shrimp. How many pieces? Oh, everybody here just got sick. Is that what that was?
Do you just do this shrimp eating contest, or you like this is?
Oh no! This is just a fun charity,
Yeah.
local charity.
So
I'm
it's
not
not
a
like you're
professional.
traveling around the world eating shrimp
No,
or
no,
food
no.
or
We're not
hot
going to
dogs
see
or
on the
anything.
Nathan's.
Okay.
So how?
4 pounds you've eaten in the past?
Yes,
So
last year.
how many pieces of jumbo shrimp is 4 pounds?
That's about 20 pieces of shrimp in a
20
pound.
pieces of
Yeah.
shrimp.
20
Okay.
a pound.
Wait, 20. Oh, 20 per.
20 shrimps in a pound. Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's 20,
Oh
40,
boy!
60.
Here we go.
That's 80 pieces of shrimp. 80 pieces of shrimp. And how long is this? 5 minutes?
I
Or
think it's
10 minutes?
8 minutes.
8 minutes. Holy smokes. Now, do you have to go right to the crapper after that? I mean, what is the, what happens
Here,
after?
we're in a restaurant. Nobody
Like,
wants to
the
talk
kid's
about
like
that.
2 months old. The
I
kid
don't.
can't
The
understand
people
what
that
I'm
are
saying.
eating, the kid
Yeah.
doesn't
But-
know.
Believe it or not, it's not. It doesn't really hurt my stomach. It's more of a chewing contest than an eating contest.
So, do you get TMJ or
What does that mean?
I got to ice it down. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have to
Of
ice
course,
it down?
yeah.
So do you like when they the hot dog guys eat the hot dog and drink water? What is your beverage of? Dave Nussbaum was going to enter it, but it would have been with beer, and I don't know. It'd
That
have been
takes up too much space.
Yeah. No beer for me. Just water. High quality H2O.
water. Okay, and so the winner last year was like a spring breaker visitor, right? So he's not coming back.
Well, good.
So
Glad to hear it.
who's the favorite this year?
You know, I'm not sure.
Okay.
You are.
I
That's
hope-
the answer.
yeah.
Dude,
You are.
please, you're
I
wearing
won't
the yellow
disappoint.
Army shirt. Please
That's
do not
right.
embarrass us by not finishing in the
And
top
keep
3.
the
Come
shirt.
on.
We don't want it back
Yeah,
after
yeah,
the
yeah.
shrimp eating
I'll do you
contest.
proud, Ed.
All
Yeah.
right. Big hand for Craig, everybody. 2:00 today.
Thanks,
Craig,
everybody.
thanks for coming over.
Is it
Thanks, Ed.
Cajun?
Thanks, Kim. Cajun
Yes.
trash can.
Cajun trash can.
Oh, and please support the Lions Club. Buy a shrimp dinner plate.
Shrimp dinner
all that
plate?
money goes to
Right.
the local community.
Right.
And you don't have to eat 4 pounds of it. You can just get a half a pound.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank
Take
you.
care. And we have
Good luck.
we have 5 shrimp hats left, everybody. I don't know.
That is what you always say. This is like back in the day when we had the gym.
Yeah.
He would always say to
Hey,
me,
Dan, come on over.
all these years we had the gym, he'd say, we just need 100 more
Customers, paying customers.
members, and we'll be good. 100
Yeah.
more. We always need 100 more. So now
We never
we
got
only
them.
have 5.
Ladies
Well,
and
I'm
gentlemen,
glad you're
Diane
here.
Clifton is here from the Fort Myers Beach Lions Club, one of the organizers of the event. Diane, what brings you over to Wahoo Willie's?
Well, we just wanted to make sure that everybody knows about the shrimp dinners, and you just talked about that.
Yes, she
And
enjoyed that last
If you
night.
know anybody that was a winner in the parade yesterday, tell them to come on down and get their trophies.
Okay.
Oh, well, there you
Yes.
By the way, we do know who the winners of the parade were. I think the Lions Club won first place.
Pardon me?
I think
well,
the
there was
Lions
different
Club parade.
divisions.
Oh, well, Margaritaville won. There were like
Yeah, there's like a lot of
okay. I do
divisions
have the
to
list that I
entry.
can post up
Yeah,
on the
there you
go.
Facebook.
Oh, okay. I will send it to you.
Yeah, I know. I have
Yeah.
it from Drew. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
and so
That'll be
you
great.
have the vendors set up today, and you have the shrimp
Yes.
eating. What else?
Yes. They're doing the blessing of the shrimp
Oh,
fleet
shoot.
here
Oh,
We
that's
forgot all
right.
about
noon
that today.
Right?
it's at
They're
noon.
bringing the
You need to
shrimp
go over there.
boat over
Oh,
here
yeah.
to the park area.
Wait. They're not doing it on the other side of the bridge?
No, they're doing it right here.
Oh,
You're
that's a
gonna do
change.
the blessing here?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a total change of
And is that still
location.
Reverend Rowe? Pastor Rowe?
Yes. From
Okay.
Yeah.
Saint-
St. Raphael's?
Yes.
Okay.
So at 12 o'clock,
He's such a nice
Yes.
guy.
there's only one boat left, right?
There's going to be one boat that they're going to bring over here right in front of the park.
Bayside Park.
Yes.
Okay, and what time is music tonight? Is it still at 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
All right, cool.
Let me just ask.
You have a like an
we
assistant
we
here
just had
feeding
the
you.
guy on who's doing the shrimping
Yes,
contest.
2 o'clock at
so
Sandy
we-
Bottom.
Yep.
Yeah.
How many more entrants did you have this year than last year? Because it seemed,
Oh, for the parade?
yeah, it was a great parade. Sorry.
35.
10 more.
35
About
this
10
year.
more?
There was like 40
Oh, 40.
entries. Yeah.
Yes.
Sweet.
I had some surprise entries day of the parade. I'm like, oh, yeah.
I know, we were talking about
Let me
that.
see if I can
I
squeeze
know.
you in.
It's so hard to have the order because you can't, people don't line up where they're supposed to line up. Some people
Yeah.
come, some people don't.
Well, they're
I
pretty
know.
good. I've
And
got
can
it
we-
cut it down to a
can we make
science
You
to get
do.
them
I
lined
mean,
up
and I
right.
appreciate you having my mom judge. She had a
Yeah.
great time.
Awesome.
Can you
She
find
enjoys
Can
that.
you find some stuff for her to do for 2 weeks? Like
yeah, you got me more
that she can
stuff
do
to keep her
for 2
busy.
weeks? No, so can we make a rule next year that you're not allowed to throw out candy?
Oh, stop.
I mean, the kids don't need candy, do they? I mean,
I
our
love
nephews,
Yes, they
our
do.
nephews went home
Yes.
with 2 giant bags full of candy because everyone just kept bringing them
Yeah,
over.
but they went home with their parents, not with us. So.
Right, right. No, it was a fabulous parade
Yes.
and very, very well organized. Even though the base of the bridge there kind of finagled the whole thing with the
Yes.
construction,
But
but
it was
It worked
handled so
better
well.
than I thought
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
going to.
Yeah.
Yes.
The race was phenomenal.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
what was your time in the race, by the way?
It was over what I wanted it to be.
Well, what was your time?
It
in
was
the race?
over. It was 33.
33 minutes, which isn't bad for a 5K with 2 bridges. I mean, dear, you're not
No,
young
it's
anymore.
Not bad. I'm telling you, I have not complained. I'm salty because I thought I would do better. The field of the group from 60 to 64, there was 24 women in that group.
Wow.
And congratulations to all of them because
What was the
winner,
winning
the winner's time was like 24 minutes.
from 60 to
I don't
64?
think I
Wow.
could do that on an electric bike in that speed. She had to be like the FTD florist with those shoes on there and wings going by. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to meet her because I was so impressed. It was a really good group.
Yes.
And it was a really good race.
Well, you guys did a fabulous job this year with organizing the Shrimp Festival. So
Yes.
thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for
Happy
including
everything's
us.
Thank
going
you.
great.
Yes. And we have
Yes.
five. We just sold 2 hats. We only have 5 hats left over here, everybody. So
So
you
if you
want-
want more,
yeah.
Head down to the festival area. We're
You know,
right
it's so-
up front.
It's so funny. I went running over to their booth yesterday because we ran out of hats, and I said, "Give me some hats." I'm just harassing people at Wahoo Willie's. They're selling them for $25 down there. I'm selling them for $30 up here.
And
Oh,
they're
they're
20
down
today.
there.
No,
they're
They're
30.
20 today.
Well, thank you.
25.
Thank you,
25.
Diane. Thank you
Yes.
very much, and
thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And they have 50-50 raffle tickets.
Hi, we've got two kinds of raffles going on today, and that we're going to draw this afternoon right down here in the park after 3 o'clock. We have a 50-50, which means you get 50% of the total pot. Okay. The other one is the lottery tickets. John has a whole board of lottery tickets. We have the tickets for sale up here in the Lions Club tent. It's green. It's on the left side of the road as you're heading towards the beach. It's between Old San Carlos and 3rd Street. So come and join us. Help us out with the lottery. All this money goes to help the different programs, the disaster relief, the diabetes, vision, hearing screening that I'm part of. As a screener, we cover all the different areas around here. I've been to LaBelle, I've been to North Fort Myers, I've been to Cape Coral, Fort Myers, and I'm out of Bonita. So we're all over the place. We've got over 40 screeners. We're helping children ages 2, 3, and 4 so they can hear and see, so they can excel in school. So those are some things we're doing.
Thank you. I'm having Jim Adderholt flashbacks right now, but thank you very much for all that information. I appreciate it.
You are very good with
Thank
the
you.
microphone.
Yes. Oh, all right. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you
We'll
so
see you later
much.
on. We'll see you down at Sandy Bottoms for the shrimp eating contest, which is going to be fun. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Passports. Okay, she wants more.
All right, just a reminder, we have passport books, and we have them up there at the green tent. If you get 6 of the tickets in there by 2 o'clock today, you'll be part of the drawing. The drawing last year was phenomenal. The gifts were phenomenal, folks. It's worthwhile to get your tickets. You do have to participate in the different items that the different restaurants have, but we need 6 tickets in your book by 2 o'clock. Bring them up to me, and I'll certify them, or the lady in my place if I'm walking around.
Thank you.
And the passports are $5, correct?
Yes. All right. Our next guests are running this town for you right now. The mayor of Fort Myers Beach, Dan Allers, and the town manager, Andy Hyatt. You guys, it doesn't matter.
I'm surprised he stayed around after we kicked him
kidding.
out of the seat.
I said 5 minutes. It's already 17 after.
Marie.
Yeah. Here we
got
go.
Andy in there. We got to.
We'll just turn it. If you could, where's Marie? We need your help over here. So, how are you guys doing? Andy, how are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for coming on. I know
back a little bit.
So the first thing I wanted to ask you guys about was you were in Washington, D.C. After your marathon town council meeting, Dan, you missed your flight, made it out to Washington. And what can you tell the residents and the people about how your trip went, what you came back with, if anything?
Well, yeah, I missed my flight. Andy and Jason were able to get out on time. And then Nancy and I went up the next day. Obviously, our meeting ran a little bit long. So we met with Senator Moody, Senator Rick Scott's office, Congressman Donalds, and FEMA. I would say it went pretty well. The mission this time was to specifically talk about the National Flood Insurance Program and our CRS ratings. So the only person we weren't able to meet with in person was Senator Scott. He was busy, but he's always been. This is the first time he hasn't been there when we've gone up. But his staff is well aware of what we're requesting. We did get to talk to Senator Moody. She's aware of it. She was dealing with some of that when she was still back here in the state. So she directed her chief of staff to work with us to see what we can get. And then Congressman Donalds has always been great throughout the whole thing. And then our last meeting was with FEMA. I would say it was pretty productive. We spent about 2 hours with them, which is longer than we've ever spent with them. And basically going through the scenario and trying to figure out exactly what it is. We did get a response from them finally to some direct questions that we asked them on Friday of not last week, but the week before. And to find out exactly we were still trying to figure out what it is we did wrong. And just to kind of paraphrase it, originally they gave us, I think it was 107 properties that, again, I told you like halfway through the process, I wasn't allowed to be in the meetings. So Andy and the staff were in the meetings, and they gave us 107 properties to look at. So staff worked very hard to try to get all the information that they wanted for these 107 properties. That's the one, remember, if you remember a while back, I told you that 5 of those weren't even in our jurisdiction. So we submitted all that paperwork. They told us everything was good. I reiterated that in our meeting. I asked them, I said, so what is it of the 107 properties that you didn't like? And they said nothing. They said, no, everything was great. Okay, so why are we on probation? And I asked, you know, what in our codes and our ordinances changed on September 29th that weren't in place in September 28th? And they said nothing. I said, again, why are we on probation? So after they sent us that July letter of the 5 things that they said all the municipalities had to come into compliance with, we eventually on November 18th got a letter from them saying you've complied with 2 of the 5. We were trying to figure out what the other 3 were. Well, a few months, I think it was a month or month and a half after that July letter, we received about a list of 1,650 properties from them that they wanted information on. At the time, we weren't sure what they were. Later on, we found out what they were. Basically, what it was is their claims list. It was the list of claims that they paid out to residents from the National Flood Insurance Program that they wanted us to do the work to find out if they've come into compliance, if they got permits, if they've been demolished, what is the status of all these properties. And I don't want to speak for Andy, but when Andy was meeting with them, they said, so what's this 1,600? This the universe? What do you want us to concentrate on, this universe or these 107? They said, nope, don't worry about, and I don't want to speak for Andy, so I'll let him talk about that part. But basically it was, don't worry about those. These are the ones that are important.
Those are these. Which ones are?
The 107 were important.
Okay.
The universe is what they referred to, those 1,600 and some properties. So we didn't focus on those. We focused on what we were told to focus on. So again, once we got that letter, the next day I sent a letter asking specific questions. Andy sent a letter. We didn't get a response. Well, we did get a response, which was this typical FEMA response. There was no, just here's the timeline of how things happened. There was no specific answers. So I put a letter together that I was going to send directly to the FEMA director and then also to President Trump. And I reached out to Congressman Donalds and Senator Scott's office, and they said, give us your letter. We'll put it on our letterhead and we'll submit it to the administration and we'll submit it on your behalf. So it was my letter, but it was their letterhead, basically saying, we don't feel that we should be on probation. You know, you're here to help the residents. This is hurting your residents. You've told us we've done anything, blah, 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 blah. We got a response back from them on that letter. Again, about a month and a half later, was basically the same thing. It was just a timeline. We sent a letter on this day. We informed you on this day, but there was no, how do you get off probation? Spoke to Congressman Donalds in his office, and they're like reading the same response letter, and because it came from their office, so the response was sent to their office, which they forwarded on to us. And Congressman Donalds was like, what is this? What is this all about? I said, this is what I've been trying to tell everybody. They don't give you an answer. So we finally got, I don't know what happened up in DC, but we finally got a pretty as detailed as FEMA could get response saying, we submitted 1,650 properties to you. Of 1,650 properties, we're still waiting on information on 1,583. That's what it said.
Now let me just
again,
ask.
I wasn't privy at the time. I wasn't privy to what Andy had communication about that being the universe, and don't worry about the universe.
But was that a verbal communication or was it in writing?
Yeah, that was in several meetings that we had. Am I going out?
Yeah.
Several meetings that we had with FEMA locally and via Zoom. We'd ask those questions. Okay, so you want us to do the whole town because they're saying you get 3 months.
So there was a record of what they had said back then?
Verbally.
But I mean, there was like a video recording of it.
No.
Okay.
They don't. They meet privately in a secure location.
There was no like court reporter there
skiff.
taking the notes.
Well, the initial meeting we had when it was all 5 of the municipalities, that including the county, that got the letter, they were very specific about no cameras, no recording, no nothing. Don't tell anybody where we're meeting.
They don't want the public to know what they're doing to you.
Well, that's fine, but there's no recording of.
So to finish the story, I wasn't aware that this was considered the universe, and I wasn't aware that this was their claims list of what they had paid out at the time. They actually, in our meeting, said it was their claims list. We didn't. We were guessing that's what it was, but they flat out told us it was the claims list, and we were doing you a favor by giving you this list, is what they told us. Correct. So Andy will tell you, I had a phone call with him where I was not very happy when I saw the response. I'm like, why did we not get them 1,583 responses that they say we haven't given them? And he explained exactly what I just explained to you, and this was all reiterated in our meeting. So again, I just kept pushing. What is it that we have done that put us on probation? And why did you not give us more time? You literally gave us 2 months before the deadline to come up with information on 1,583 properties. Even if you would have given
what'd they say?
They said, well, we waited longer than we normally do. We gave all the municipalities more time. And I said, is there some sort of federal statute that says how long you have to how long you have to wait before you put someone on probation? No. Is there any statute that says you can't take people off of probation? No, but we aren't going to do that. So what we were basically asking for is just give us till this November, because what it's doing, whether we want to admit it or not, we've got close to 700 properties that are sitting on the island. If people don't feel comfortable that they can get insurance because of a probation word that they had put on there, just tell us what we did wrong. Well, they couldn't tell us. They couldn't tell us that we did anything wrong. They just
So let me ask you this.
They did say one property. The local guy that met with us, he's like, we have one property that we saw from aerial pictures that looked like it was substantially damaged from a aerial picture. We couldn't find any permits in record, and now we see it's for sale on Zillow. And I said, okay, so one property you found?
Okay, so that leads me into the question of how did the other municipalities not get dinged the same way Fort Myers Beach did? You can't say to me that the same thing didn't happen all across Southwest Florida. Why did they single out Fort Myers Beach? Why?
But we can't get an answer. They won't. We couldn't get an answer because I asked the same thing, Ed. I said, he'll tell you I was pretty animated in the movie in the meeting. You're telling us one property, but there's no other property in any of the other municipalities that did work without a permit? Not one? Well, we can't say that. Okay, so then, well, again, why are we on probation? Why? We have no problem.
Is there a chance that you're going to get off probation? Yeah.
We're certainly, well, I'll let Andy speak to what happened after the meeting. So
go ahead, Andy.
Well, we're hopeful. Obviously, they were talking to us so much about the universe versus the 100 properties that we responded to. Yes, from their lips to our ears, yes, we have a chance in about next November to be off of probation and possibly get our CRS rating back.
Next November, meaning what year?
26.
This year. No, this year.
Oh, yeah, this year, but it would take effect April 1st of 26.
Because you're on for 2 years no matter what.
So you're not.
That's what we thought.
Wow, look at, I lit him right up.
That's what we thought.
In our meeting with FEMA, we said, we feel that you did this. You shouldn't have put us on probation. You shouldn't. There's no reason that you've given us why we're on probation.
Agreed.
You said it was this. Now you're saying it's this. What is it? And they all 5 of them that were in the meeting couldn't answer the question. So I said, why can't you take us off probation now? Give us till November of this year. If you want the information on these 1,583 properties, Andy had his staff working over the weekend at 1,100 properties.
Over
We've been able to
1,100.
get the information in 4 days. So if we had known that's exactly what you were looking for, we wouldn't even be having this meeting. So I said, I don't want to wait till November. I want you to take us off of probation now. They said, we can't do that.
Why?
So exactly. Why can't you do it now?
Why would you even ask such a
if they're
silly
sitting,
question?
well, it's supposed to be a new FEMA under Trump. Isn't it supposed to be a more friendly FEMA?
Well, I will tell you, we've gotten much more response since Trump.
Who
took
is running
office
FEMA, by the way? Who's running who's the director now?
There's no pictures. That's the only building we went into. Usually every building you go into in DC has a picture of the administrator all the way down.
Did you like that one?
There were 4 pictures frames on the wall where there used to be pictures. There's no pictures on the wall.
Empty frames.
It's the only
Okay, we have a long list of questions. So what's your best
I-
guess of when they're getting their insurance back?
Well, we'll let you know when we know. But as Andy said, they said, November, and we'll schedule someone to come down to review your CRS rating to get you back in that. As long as you haven't changed your code or ordinances, you should be able to go right back to that 5. And I said, and we'll put this in writing. I said, if I'm being honest, so far you've put nothing in writing, so I don't have the confidence that you're going to do that. And Congressman Donalds gave us a very stern message to give them from his mouth to them, which we passed on. And they took note, and we'll see. They've already reached out to Andy since we've returned and said we're working on the letter. We'll get it to you soon. So as soon as we know what their response is, we'll let you know.
All right, I know you're all fired up.
Oh, I am. This is. I mean, it's affecting
you
our
should
economy.
listen to your wife and use the sunscreen next time.
Yeah, what the hell?
Because you are like
it looks like the sun sitting. I need sunscreen because it's coming off of his head here.
I know.
I had a friend back in Minnesota that would always used to say, if you can't tone it, tan it.
Yeah. Okay. Good one, Dan.
Well, you burned it off.
So Andy, you're the town manager for a few more months. Can you, as much as you want to, tell the viewing audience why you're leaving?
52 days.
Not that he's
Who's
counting.
counting, right? No, just so they hear that because they've asked, can you stay? Can you stay? So we've got, sometimes you got to put a stake in the ground. At some point there, you do get to a place in your life where, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room that have gotten to that point where, it's time to kind of slow down a little bit and just kind of reflect and look at where we've been. My wife and I, with the last 2 jobs I've had, we pretty much lived apart for about 5 years, been married almost 36 years. That's gotten tougher as we get older. And when I go home, she reminds me, she's watching. Hi, Susan. I hope you're watching. She does remind me I'm not the town manager at home. So, you can't take it with you, but it just seems to be that it was just the right time. It's a feeling that you get it at one point. And I was driving back from Jacksonville on that Sunday afternoon, and we were talking about it. And I just told her, this is it, and she's like, I'll support your decision. So there'll be something else somewhere down the road. I don't know what now.
So the meeting where you explained you weren't going to extend your contract is a 2-year contract that you're fulfilling. It seemed either they're good actors or they were totally surprised by not even the opportunity to try and keep you for another year. Did any extenuating circumstances lead to your retirement from Fort Myers Beach, or did you make the decision on the drive down just thinking it was time to get back to your family?
They are good actors. Let's just qualify that. They all are getting awards for. No, I just to talk a little bit about that. We have a lot of good conversations with all 5. I do. Make sure we understand we're not doing sunshine law violations, but I do. I've got this is a great council to work with. We've accomplished several things. We've accomplished a little more than I expected. Not as much as I wanted to, but of course that's me pie in the sky trying to get to an elite level. You could try to single out one thing. My wife and I had been talking about an end date. He and I talked about an end date at some point in the future. I'm about being transparent and open. When I'm not on the radio show, with private conversations and things we've had, and talked to each one of the elected officials and just kind of shared information. But we've tried to make sure that I've expressed, my desire to leave it better than I found it. And I really believe in my heart, in my head, that I've gotten it. It is better than I found it. Is it as good as it's going to be?
Andy,
no.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. And obviously we're going to talk about that, but were there any extenuating circumstances that
I think it's been asked and answered.
You can say, I'm not going to answer that, and that's fine. But I obviously don't want to leave that unasked, because there was a general feeling that something pushed you over the edge. And if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But I just feel like I just want to throw it out there in case you do.
I think sometimes you seriously, this is literally, you're always looking for something, maybe that one sign, that one thing that's like, oh, wait a minute. It kind of makes you go, and just kind of think a minute about a bigger picture. There's things in life that happen that people here don't know about, even though there's been a lot of public information given out. But there's other things behind the scenes. I've got a father-in-law that's suffering from dementia, and we've just moved him to Jacksonville. And, my wife, it's a challenge there. And they're just things like that. So it's really kind of a big culmination
of things.
A culmination.
Yeah.
It just got to the point. And yes, there are things, and there's like an aha moment, I guess, which is not so necessarily what people want to hear. There's always juicy details, but it's like, sometimes it's, you leave them wanting more.
And it's important to note, Andy was up front with us in all of our meetings from the very beginning. He wasn't going to be our long-term solution. Mm-hmm. He told us it would be 2 to 4 years roughly is what he could commit to. So we knew that going in, but he was by far the best pick. Obviously, he was unanimous. So, he was by far the best pick of what we were choosing from. So it's not that we didn't expect this. I think it was a little earlier than we had hoped, but it's not that we weren't planning, that we
Sure.
knew that at some point this was coming. He wasn't going to be the long-term solution, but I agree with Andy, and I think all my fellow council members would. It's definitely in a much better place than it was.
One more thing on this, not on that. Go ahead, Andy.
Can I just add one thing? And I think, as far as the island itself is concerned, there was one particular goal that I really felt like that I needed to achieve before I did anything. And that was to find these good folks, you good folks, a new home.
Yep.
We've done that. And pretty soon there'll be a lot more information coming out. I was just down there this morning. I got caught pulling weeds. You can't hide from anything here. But it's just me. The next manager needs to be able to get his or her fingernails dirty every now and then. This is that job.
One of the things that was unusual about, I was talking, Andy keeps pointing over here. You can't see it on screen, but Councilman John King is here also. Is that you rarely see a town manager who has support of all 5 politicians that vote for them. And you certainly had, it seemed like, continued support. You never see all the behind the scenes thing, but you certainly had continued support of 5 elected officials. And that's an unusual thing. And that would, do you think that's possible to pull off again in the applicants that you've seen?
I think anything's possible. Is it probable? It's hard to say. And I think that it lies with this person. This person has to adjust to 5 personalities and a community that has a personality. And I think if you come in, and a lot of town managers, city managers will do this, they think they're the end all to end all and they're the answer. We're not the answer. We're the support. We're the ones holding everybody up. We're holding staff up. We're holding elected. We hopefully are holding the town up. That's not an ego thing. That's just something. If you're a true public servant, that's the way you work. That's the way you operate. I mean, I know I've talked to each one of them, and there's things. Yeah, whatever you need, we'll get in there with you. We'll pick things up and do things that need to happen. But I think we have a very unique relationship, and one thing I've talked about and tried to express is that if we have an issue, and I'm pointing to John King to my left, any of the elected officials, let's talk about it behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Let's get it. We don't need to air dirty laundry in public because everybody's watching.
Yeah, you don't need to pull Zelensky.
You need to look like you're on a unified front. I don't have to be right all the time. I usually am, but I let them think they are.
And the other thing that
But it takes them a minute to come around to that. Let me just ask before, because I feel like you're launching into talking about the next person coming in, and I just want to ask, you talked about one of the big things that you wanted to do was get a place for the town hall and all of that. What are some of the other things that you look back on and you're glad got accomplished, you're proud that got done while you were here, and maybe some things that are still on the horizon?
Well, it's interesting. One thing that you can look over here to our right, everybody's left, the Bayside Veterans Park now. When I got here, so there was an event coming, and we're going to get this done by Labor Day. We got to get this done by the anniversary, the first year memorial. And I looked at a couple people and said, okay, I'll get it done. And we got it done. I mean, that's an accomplishment that a lot of people, we actually got it done. And then the state of Florida gave us $500,000 for that project. So it was a wash.
Yeah. Casey DeSantis' foundation, that was right after the storm. I probably told the story. Director Guthrie was down here almost the day after we had the meeting, and Roger was let go, and council all switched up. And he's like, we went and looked at all the damaged properties on the island, and Director Guthrie looked at me and he said, Mayor, what is it that we can do to help? And at the time, I think the goal of the council was to try to get a win every month. And the 2 low-hanging fruits, I always call it low-hanging fruit, was Bayside Park, because that was recently done. And although it looked like it was really damaged, it wasn't that bad. And then obviously the beach. If you can get the beach clean, people will always have a place to go watch sunset. That's one thing that the hurricane couldn't take away, was the sunset. So when people are done working on their houses, they could go there. They could, have a wine, have whatever water, whatever they drink, and watch the sunset, recharge, start again the next day. They did that immediately, and then it was the park. And it was before Andy got here, and we never thought it was going to happen, because Director Guthrie's like, I think we can do this outside of the appropriations thing. I have a path. And at the time, we didn't know what the path was. Well, it ended up coming to fruition. And then Andy came in, and then they kept pushing forward to get that park done. And that was one of the first places that we had done. We had the first year anniversary was held there. So the council's goal was to make sure, try to give a win every month. And Andy, I think, heard that, and he and his team ran with it. It was, if you could show someone progress every single month, that gives them hope that what they're doing is the right thing. And I think it was a good strategy. I think it worked.
So, Andy, one of the things that you changed was at the town council meetings, all the department heads were lined up like they were actually part of the town government, where beforehand, I don't even think people knew who the department heads were. And you sit there and you allow them to all speak when it's like beach nourishment. It was like Chad was reborn when you came to town. And he's such a great person to have working for the town.
Yeah, he's a
and
great
he gets up there and he explains the beach nourishment, and he answers emails. I'm not saying he didn't before, but your managers were up there all around the table. They sat through that friggin' 8-hour power session you had last week, and you gave them, you empowered them to be part of the entire operation. Are you trying to make sure that continues? Because, when there's turnover, there's usually more than one person that turns over. A new guy, new lady wants to bring in their staff, make sure everybody connects. What can you tell the residents how that transition is going to take place? Because they're pretty happy with it right now,
yeah,
I think.
It's a good fit. It's a good partnership. It's a good system. Contrary to popular belief, I'm really not the smartest person in the room when I'm in a room, unless I'm by myself. And I don't
know whoever believed that.
I got questions. I have to question myself. But we're only as smart as the people we put around us, in my opinion. And I've managed enough towns and cities that I try to empower my staff.
Yeah.
Because they're doing that job every day. I'm going in all the directions, and they're the subject matter expert in their field. And if they can just grasp that knowledge and then bring that to the town council or to the town in some way. One thing I'm doing with staff is in continuing to encourage them and continue as we look through the resumes, and as we look through background checks, and we do our Google searches, and we do everything we need to do, is just look for those things, because if it's out there and we don't find it, somebody else might find it, and that creates another problem. So what we're trying to do is just dig as deep as we can to find the right person. I'm gonna be talking to all the applicants because the council's asked me to help, and I'm really going to explain the expectations of this job to each one of them. And I think
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
The good, bad, and absolutely, and I have. And
what is the ugly?
Think it's sitting right here to my right. Oh, you left it right open for me.
That was a perfect set.
Oh
for that
my
spike.
gosh, I know.
Softball.
We talked about that earlier.
No, we did not.
I'm not under any sunshine rules.
Ed, I did not.
The show is going on 7 years. Have you ever heard me insult her like the way she does
Oh yes.
week after week after week? I can't
Please.
stop it.
Let
So,
me
no,
get something for
seriously.
your feelings.
Oh, stop. So,
I know.
Go ahead,
Is
Andy.
there another diaper, the baby diaper, maybe for you?
Wow, she's on a roll.
go ahead. I don't even know what the hell we were talking about. You're down to
How many are you down to? Like, have you distilled it down yet, or
we have? Obviously, you get everybody applying who has really ever done anything. That it's an amazing, guys who have run radio shows.
No, I did not apply. There's some mechanic or something.
That
I
was
saw.
me, nobody else. But yeah, there's just a lot. So you get a pretty good first blush at it, eliminate a lot of people.
Right.
Surprisingly, we didn't get a lot of applicants. One thing we're looking at is the competition. There's other towns looking as well. And
Okay.
sometimes you compete with them for a talent. So you have to set yourself apart. And I think how we're going to set ourselves apart is how I can explain what the council's expectations are and what we've lived the last 2 years. So I think that's a big plus. We are probably going to be down to about 5 to 7 by the end of next week. Next week's this week coming up is my week to start making those phone calls, we're getting our background checks back so we can go through it. And
So what is your goal to have 5 and then do what with the final number?
Well, we're required to have 5 by the policy that the council's
Okay.
put in place,
And then-
5 with 2 alternates.
And then what do you
So
do?
it'll be 7, and then we'll present them to those. The 5 will go to them. The 2 alternates will be kind of in the on
Waiting
deck.
in the green room. So when you have the 5, what's the process though? They come in before the council? I mean, last year, when you went through the whole process, You
Oh,
were
it's
at
different.
Diamond Head and you were mingling with the community. And so, what is the process this year, dear? I mean, what is?
Essentially almost the same.
Okay.
So there'll be a meet and greet in the morning for residents, and we encourage residents, if you have questions that you want to ask, feel free to send them in. I believe Talisa and staff are compiling those questions to try to put together. And then obviously we'll have our time with each of the 5 candidates like we did before. I think it's 15 minutes or 20 minutes per candidate, where you sit there with another staff member. And that's done just so that there's a record. There's not, you can't ask certain questions. Obviously, people understand that. So you go through that, and then there will be a meeting, a special meeting where we will ask some questions in public. Then we'll either decide or we won't decide on potentially the next.
I was a little surprised that there wasn't more of a turn. Well, it was kind of after a storm too, so there was a lot going on. It wasn't like a normal day, but I was a little surprised there weren't more people from the community at the last public meeting at Diamond Head. But it could have been because everyone was trying to get out from underneath the rubble. So maybe there'll be more.
I think this time it's going to be
I think
different.
so.
Yeah.
It's a process, and it's interesting to see. Being council members, we get to see some of the applicants and some of the things, and some of the people. I'll tell you, it's a funny story. The very first person that they thought was going to fill in or could be an excellent candidate, well qualified for Andy, before Andy, his name was pulled out. This person, I can't remember their name, but I did the first thing I could Google them. The first thing that came up was that there was an accusation that was later cleared about sexual harassment within the workplace, and I went to Chris and Keith and said, no way, but he was cleared. It doesn't matter. We just went through a hurricane. I don't want the first thing people to see about a potential new manager is something like that. So that's the background check stuff that we have to go through.
And to that point, I think what we have now is 4 of the 5 council members have done this.
Right.
When I came in, nobody had done this.
Yes.
So I was really teaching them as I was being interviewed. It was really a unique experience to interview them. And
well, I mean,
it went well, and it's a good system. And I think we're kind of refining. I think bringing the public in to provide questions is a big deal.
Back then, I don't even think it was. I mean, it's probably going to be tougher because it wasn't even a competition. It almost seemed like it was an easy pick. That you were in that pool of 4 people. It was 4 because the 5th person took another job, but
not
it was
easy. But
it
you
was
were
totally
clearly the winner of the group.
it was not even close.
It wasn't like they were like, we'll take this guy.
No, it wasn't like that at all.
Well, from where I come from, they say a blind hog can find an acorn every now and then. I think they found,
or he did. One of the.
You're gonna miss those. You're gonna miss those.
No, it was. Anybody can put anything on paper, right? And you can sound excellent. You could read someone's resume and be, wow, this is a perfect fit. And then when you sit across the table from them and you talk to them, you're like, they're never going to make it here.
Yeah.
They could be the best town manager on the planet, but if they can't talk to me, they're definitely not going to be able to
The
talk
interesting
to the
thing
public.
about the town manager interview is that the town manager is now looking at 5 people that he or she has to deal with and trying to figure out in their mind if they want to deal with this politician and the way that they act and the way, is that person going to stab me in the back? I mean, and it's great for the community because it's all out in public.
Well, I think that's what's great about Andy will have the opportunity to be able to talk to him. And I can't speak for the other council members, but I've told Andy, make sure you tell him the good, the bad, the ugly. Tell him what you felt was challenging, what you felt needs improvement, he knows the 5 personalities better than everyone because he talks to us every week.
Right.
So tell them everything because we don't want someone coming in
being surprised.
At least in my opinion, I don't want someone coming in being, whoa, no one told me this could happen, or no one told me I'm going to hear from this person every other day, 4 times a day. You know what I mean? So it's things like that I think are important.
And I think if any applicants looking, and they should be doing their homework too, obviously, because you're a professional and you should always research where you think you might be working. I don't think when they Google that they'll find any issues that the council has been through with me. There's not any, arguments we've had or, no insults thrown around or things like that. And that's unique when you get into local government, especially a small local government and I've managed 3 island towns, beach communities just like this one, varying a little different, but you just don't see that here.
Yeah.
I have not seen it.
Besides the qualifications that each applicant has to have, what, in your opinion, are some of the qualities that they're going to need for this specific situation and island?
Well, I think to be able to just sit down and have a beer with one of them, or just to sit down and just have a conversation. I mean, yeah, it usually
down to
centers
earth.
around work. Yeah, get down to the lowest common denominator. We all
Well,
have a base we got to build, and if you start building your base, then you can get to a higher level. I think if you got a strong foundation, you're going to be fine. Coming here, I talked to my wife. I was here 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm like, I think this is more than what I'm capable of doing. We had those conversations, and every day. So you came back you got up the next day, and he talked about a win every month. I was trying to win something every day because all due respect to staff, I think we had staff misplaced.
Yeah.
And I think we had staff who really were overwhelmed a little bit and
Underappreciated.
And so I started creating and talking, and they gave me the ability and the support to put people where I thought they should be. And I really believe, with the exception of maybe one, I won't mention Frankie's name, but I think with the exception of one, we've put everybody, right where they need to be. And I think we've really, and all kidding aside, Frankie's contributed a lot to the town. But I think we've done that. We put Jason as a legislative liaison.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's paid some huge dividends.
And it's given him life too.
He's excelled in that. Yeah.
So I also talk about filling the gaps, and that's why Dr. Kohler's here. She's filling the gaps, and thank God, because now we with the FEMA thing, I've turned that over to her, and
Nice.
she closed up in the office, and she's been running with that. So she gets it. She gets having to fill the gaps, and how small things can become big things.
So Andy, let's role play a little bit here. So I'm an applicant for town manager.
Okay.
Tell me the 3 biggest challenges I'm going to have running this beach.
Well, one challenge is the traffic, but obviously that is a challenge that I'm not even sure that can be solved. I think it can be helped, but that's really something that it's just going to be there.
Yes.
It's dealing with the county, and I think that's one thing that I've done is I've raised that level of respect, communication with the county, and Dave Horner and I, and a few. I don't speak to a lot of the county commissioners, but a couple of them, and that's been a good relationship. And I think the state and the federal relationships that I've developed and nurtured a little bit. But also I talk to other city managers, and they call me. I mean, I've had the St. Petersburg city manager, there's another one up there. I can't think of the name now, but they've called me. How you deal with FEMA? What'd you do here? How's this going? Because when I got here, I told staff, I hadn't been here long. I said, we want every other municipality in the state of Florida to say, go see how Fort Myers Beach did it and do it that way. So that's kind of how we've been trying to set the bar, that it's so high that other people come and measure against us. We don't measure against other people. And I think we're well on our way to do that. We get calls from other towns and cities. It's like, they're calling us, and and so
traffic and the relationship.
Well, let me just ask on that note, do you think in your retirement, because we've talked about this before, and I'm joking, but really serious, that you would feel like you could write a book, like an operational manual of how.
No, I could.
Well, I mean, a consultant, but an actual, put it down in writing, hurricanes for smart people, not even dummies,
hurricanes that hit Northeast Florida and hurricanes that hit Southwest Florida are completely different animals because of the topography and the way that it's laid.
But dealing with FEMA is probably the same.
And again, in the building collapse, I'm the only manager in the state of Florida that's ever dealt with that.
Yeah,
so
that's not.
I've got I own that. So dealing with
book
FEMA
deal is coming your way.
That was a different FEMA situation than this because it was an isolated situation. This is more widespread, obviously, and this is a complete different devastation. I've seen FEMA, the best of FEMA and the worst of FEMA. And the worst has been here and when I was in Neptune Beach. It's just because they change people out, it seems like every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that creates a problem because they don't want them to develop partnerships and friendships with the locals.
Gotcha. So your challenges to the applicants are relationships, traffic, what else?
Traffic, we've got to improve our water towers and our stormwater. I mean, obviously we're doing that.
Yeah.
We live on a barrier island. You can go to almost any city in Florida, and when it rains hard, you're going to have some flooding issues in the streets. But to be able to get it off of a barrier island quicker, because we have a lot of people that homes survived and they're still on the ground level. And as we start to see them lifted, some of that will ease.
Yes.
But again, we're still going through that process. That I think when we start getting roads paved and other things tied together, it should help. I don't know if we'll ever completely solve that problem, but we still want to continue to work on that and come up with as many solutions as we can. And there are bigger solutions, but I'm not sure that they're economically feasible. You could put a seawall, almost all the way around the island and help and still maintain your views. So there's things like that. It's getting the beach finished and the beach access is finished. Those things are big
Sure.
challenges, but they're not too much to overcome.
Now, you brought up the beach, and how is the nourishment project going? Where are we at, and when is that going to be done? Just remind us.
It's
I know you
going
talked
great.
about it
We
last
really think that it should be finished by May.
Okay.
If things keep going the way they are, they needed some extra days, and I know Dan's been part of that, asking those questions too.
Yeah, they're hoping April 15th is the deadline to try to get the beach completed. As far as the trucks and things, there might be still where they're doing the berm and plantings and that kind of stuff, but the heavy trucks and the heavy sand. This weekend I saw there had to be 100 trucks going to the north end by Bowditch trying to work on that beach berm and fill in the scours, and so Chad and Mike Poff have got these guys working hard.
Well, April's right around the corner.
It's coming quick. They're really, really close to Leonardo Arms now. They should be moving through that.
Poor Leonardo Arms.
Here comes Concert King.
Oh boy.
The new DJ.
The microphone's already off. What about Bay Oaks and the pool? You got an update for that?
Last I heard from staff was that it would be mid-April as well, as far as Bay Oaks being open. The pool, we're just waiting for the final documentation, if you will, for the HUD funding, the CDBGR funding to come down to be able to get the pool done. That should be, Andy could probably speak as to when they plan to have that. Actually, Andy, why don't you talk a little bit about the RFP for the park being redone and the pool?
One thing we did one thing I found out after I got here, we were underinsured. So we went and reviewed all of our policies and we became sufficiently insured. So when we had the three floods, Debbie, Helene, and Milton, our insurance company has come in and they've taken the ball and run with it. They're doing the whole project with Bay Oaks as far as the recreation center, the bathrooms, the press box. They're doing it all. We just pay our deductible. So by investing, we've saved money. So we see those opportunities coming. We've got an RFP that is going out, should be this week. We've got a $2 million project. That's how much money we've got to finish the Bay Oaks project. It's pickleball courts, an open space, green space, picnic shelter.
Thanks for the hard-hitting questions, John.
Thanks, John.
What about the playground?
Snooze, you lose.
Playground.
We're working actually with the school. We're trying to get an extra fence put in halfway between the school and the playground behind them. That's a brand new playground that the town purchased, so we can access that from the park, and they can lock it. We can lock it when school's in, and unlock it.
So there'll be something for the kids and something for the
Correct.
adults.
We want to expand that a little bit, and we think we've got that unique opportunity. I think we're going to be putting in, I think it's 5 or 6 pickleball courts. As many as we can. We're also in the gymnasium. We're putting pickleball courts on the courts there as well. We're outlining them, so you just don't have to figure it out. It's really going to be a unique court. It's going to be, we're kind of doing an epoxy on it, kind of like this, instead of putting a floor that can be ruined. This, you just come in and squeeze it and clean it up and go. There was 2 floors we had to pull up after this last situation.
Wow.
So we're trying to be more efficient. We're all actually going to I've asked staff to create an opportunities for the treadmills and things like that. When we think or know we have a way to raise all the equipment up, we haven't done that in the past.
I'm sorry. So by the way, I've said this before, the town of Fort Myers Beach is set up with a strong town manager and a weak mayor or town council. And that's not a derogatory thing. That's That's just the way the charter was set up, so that the town manager is like the CEO of the town. The town council members are not allowed to supposedly talk to employees. You have to go through the town manager to keep the structure of the government running the way the charter is laid out. So my question to you is, if any of the potential candidates that are running for or applying for the job are watching or go back and watch this, do any of the members of the town council meddle in what you try and do to the point that they should be worried? No, it's a serious question, dear.
Well, then use a different word
No,
than
because
meddle.
I think, fairly, I think after the storm, when you were somewhat new to Fort Myers Beach, they were all jumped in on everything. They were like 100% in on trying to do whatever they could do to rebuild the island. And then as time went on, I think it kind of morphed into more of you're the man, you're in charge.
Yeah, Ed, I've been around a while and I'm getting older, but I've always learned to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So you pull them real close. No, I don't think these guys are team members. This is a unique environment. This is a unique town. If you don't use the village, you are destined for failure, only because everybody might pull in a different direction. We don't want 3-2 votes. We don't want 2-3 votes. If it can be unanimous, everything's not going to be unanimous. I'm not delirious, but I do think if we all are pulling in the same direction and talk about this and listen, everybody in here, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Let's listen twice as much as we speak. I was taught that as a child, and so I try to listen to what everybody says. And at some point there is a dictatorship. I use that term loosely, that somebody's got to make the decision and be held responsible for that decision. So that will come. But I think if you just work with this council, listen to this council, be very transparent. We live in we can't give out everything. FEMA says don't give out our addresses, don't do this of our documents. Okay. That bothers me too. But anyhow, we are very transparent. I try to be as transparent, doing the right things, getting things out there as much as possible. I know sometimes it seems like it's slow, but the government grinds. It just grinds slowly sometimes, and unfortunately, that's just the nature of the creature.
I think it's been. I mean, this council has been. Obviously, I was involved. Since the beginning, and it was, when you have someone that comes in, they're drinking through a fire hose, right? They don't know who the people are on the island. They don't know what to expect, and you do the best you can do as a council to try to fill them in. And a good manager, in my opinion, will be willing to ask for help. They won't be so prideful to say, they'll reach out to the council members, which I know Andy has done, and said, this is maybe your area of expertise. What can you help me out with this? And I've tried to be, and I can't again speak for my fellow council members, but I think I know them well enough to be able to say that we understand the charter, we respect the charter, we understand who the person is that makes the decision with staff. And he'll tell you to this day, I've never went to staff. I will never give him direction, but even before I talk to them, I'll ask Andy first, can I reach out to Chad to get an answer to this? Or can I reach out to the floodplain manager to get an answer to this? And he's never not said no. That's not always been like that. In the past, it was, no, you can ask me and I'll give you the answers. Well, to what Andy said, his management style more aligns with who I am. Is, you give someone a task. Their job is to do that task. Your job is to follow it, make sure that task is done. If it's not done, it falls back on the town manager. So, but you got to, we saw what happened when the handcuffs were taken off some of our staff members. You got to see a whole different person. And I think that comes from the leadership, that comes from the management.
Well, I think it also is a being comfortable in your own skin. I'm the fifth of 5 children, and I have 3 older sisters. So you can just kind of, correlate that. But what you see here in working with John, I mean, this is it. We're not faking this for this show. I mean, we talked about that. Yeah. We both agreed it would be good for us to be here together. It just seems like it's just a better way of doing things, especially here. This is a unique situation. It's not for everybody. Right. It really isn't. And I don't think somebody should come in here thinking, oh, well, this is the way I did it back. That's the first. Don't come in telling that's the way we did it where I came from. Right. I talk a little different than everybody from around here, or they talk different than I do. I really need.
We're still not sure if his accent's a fake. But.
So the thing that one of the big things now is the structures coming down or not coming down, and I've got a big issue with Terry Prasad, and I'm picking on him all the time, and I just think that building should be taken down, and that if there's one person on this beach that can afford to take that building down, it's Terry Prasad.
Because that was the one that people really didn't like.
Well, the one house
The
up here, well, they're
beehive
suing the
thing.
town. There's a lawsuit going on.
Well, I know,
Terry
but
had
just
no
let people
explanation
know
why
that.
he wasn't taking that down.
Well, I think, speaking of specifically that, you got to, what do we have, 60 some employees? I mean, what's going on is a Herculean task, right?
For sure.
And to be able to do it without increasing taxes, I think is pretty powerful. We have had a lot of help, obviously, from the state that has helped us with appropriations, which have allowed us to do that. But the goal was to do, Andy's goal and our goal was to do more with less. And that means that you're not always going to probably move as fast as you want. We also got a new town attorney who is excellent, by the way. And she knows what she needs to be able to win cases. So she has a
But
policy.
Dan, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I am not
Maybe.
saying the town is being slow and getting somebody who can afford to knock a building down. When there are other people that are going through insurance, you go up and down every side street. There's still houses that need to come down, but you got a guy that claims he's part of the community that won't take down one of the biggest eyesores. I'm not saying it's the town. You could use a little cooperation from people that can cooperate. That was my point.
I 100% agree with
The
that.
the one meeting I've missed here, I was sick and I watched it online, and it's like, you know, I was a little more hypersensitive, I think, to paying attention what the speakers are saying. And with all due respect, sometimes I'm looking at something or reading an email and just trying to figure out, you know, the next subject and prepare. Sure. But when Mr. Prasad got up at the end and the mayor asked him, said, "Are you waiting on insurance money or are you just not taking it down?" He said, "I'm not taking it down."
Yeah.
So I contacted staff right during that time. I said, "We need to talk about this. We need to start this process. We need to move." I'm still pushing. Just because he's got a permit doesn't mean that I've stopped. You know, I'm what do I got to lose?
So yeah, so let me
So
ask you
now
this.
he's got the permit that goes for 6 months, right?
Correct. But that doesn't, in my opinion, I'll speak with attorneys this week, stop the town from doing something either. There's not a court order. There's not anything like that. I'm sure now, you know, he's probably listening. That's going to come. But I still think the end result's the end result. And he agrees he got a permit to take it down. So now he knows that's what he's got to do, because then if he doesn't, then that starts another clock.
Well, and that's, you know, people come in all the time and say, we want to be good community partners. We want to, well, you know, words are words. You know, if you really want to be part of this community, do what's right. Yep. You know, do what's right. And if it's an insurance thing, I think we're past the insurance. In my opinion, I think we're we're waiting on insurance thing. I'm sure there are still some people out there that probably are waiting, but the vast majority probably have been through that process. And, you know, it's not fair that people who have taken the time to go through the process and get their houses rebuilt, that they have to look at crap on either side of them. And, you know, staff or council has told staff, whatever you need to do if we need more code enforcement, whatever you need to do. I think we've been universal across the board since the hurricane, that whatever you feel you need, that is your job to manage the staff. If you feel you need more code enforcement to be able to address this specific issue, so be it. Whatever he is needed, I think council has been unanimous this entire time to say, go out there and get it. But, you know, there was a time where we were being respectful for people to try to get through the process.
But that time has.
Well, we're still respectful and we still are sympathizing with that. But at some point you have to, you know, I've been on your show for a year saying some of the decisions that are going to come down the pipeline are going to be hard and people are not going to like it, but we'll deal with the blowback.
I think there's one thing that the mayor and I did. We had a conversation with a representative of FEMA. I'm not sure if she's in Atlanta about the town hall. I'm not sure if she's in Atlanta or Washington, where she was. But we were saying, we're the town hall, what else do we need? We've got all our insurance. She said, yep, go ahead and take it down. So we started the process. 2 days later, they called and said, oh, wait a minute. Our investigators need more pictures. If we've got to do this.
They want to come back again.
Yeah. And so we reached out to Kevin Guthrie, and the next thing you know, the state's come and take it down. It's like, you know, we move.
The state came in and said, we'll take it under our FEMA project. And within a couple of days, there was bulldozers out there bringing the building
So when
down.
is the first town council meeting going to be at the new town hall? I mean, it looks great. Wait, that was a pregnated pause. What's going on, Andy?
Well,
not enough weeds to pull out over there, or what?
No, the thing it's kind of near and dear to me because that was a goal I had, and I wanted to be part of the first meeting in there. And so April 30th is my deadline. I am really working hard to have a meeting, and at least one meeting, maybe two in April in there. So that's That's the goal. Whether we
What's
can
left
get
to
there or
do?
not. Downstairs, we've got to get the fire wiring put in, the fire alarm wiring. We've got to finish the walls because you can't finish the walls until the fire department's inspected the wiring. We've already had all of our inspections on the electrical. We're ready for that. The drop ceiling and the lights, finishing that and finishing the dais, and we're pretty much it. The second and third floors are finished, ready to move in.
Is there going to be a reliable internet connection?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Matter of fact, I was so adamant. I said, let's put one on each floor, and they started coming in, and it was the right handle. Got a little excited about that, and we were bringing Comcast in, and then we kind of worked backwards. So yeah, we're putting enough of the whatever they are that
it's hard to criticize about the internet connection because you're operating out of trailers after a Category 5
we were on
hurricane.
Starlink,
Right.
you know, for a while in the first set of trailers. And, you know, again, I think that's an important thing to bring up, Ed, that what Andy and the staff have done, and Chris and Keith when they were here, to do what they've done in 2.5 years, moving. I think Amy said this is going to be your 6th or 7th move, if not more, since the hurricane. I mean, she was in an unair conditioned trailer trying to operate as the town clerk right after the storm, in a tent, and then moving a loud tent that had these blowers we had to shut off for the council meetings to be able to conduct business. And then it was hot, you know, and everybody's angry. And then you go into these temporary trailers, and now we're in another temporary. I mean, it's been the fact that we've been able to conduct business. We're the only municipality that's had to do that.
Yep.
No one else lost their town hall. No one else has lost their place of business. I mean, if you run a business out there, imagine your entire office, your entire business building is gone, including all the records and everything in it. And to be able to still operate your business successfully it's a very difficult challenge. And I think that the staff has done as good a job as they can do with the resources they've had for 2.5 years to be able
And
to do
this
it.
building will withstand whatever.
It's withstood everything so far.
Yeah.
So it's
and we're making the downstairs resilient, so you don't have to redo it every time something happens.
Or
Just
lose
little pieces
paperwork
of it.
and
Are you guys
all
going to
this
have
stuff.
retail opportunity in that building?
Probably not.
Okay.
We
But
will have a room that's probably about this size that can be rented out for meetings and
Cool.
special events and things like that.
So
for the
is-
nonprofits and stuff that want to hold
there you go.
meetings,
Nice.
they can use the space. It used to be a salon in there, I think.
Yeah.
So it's a nice space. And
Can you put a barber shop?
Can just put a barber shop in Adderholt's garage.
I'm sorry.
Can you believe,
I didn't make the
Andy, when you
connection.
came in, that there wasn't a CFO, like there wasn't somebody in charge of the money, and on top of that, go ahead.
Listen, I don't know anything about government or anything, but back in the day, I was flummoxed that there wasn't
Me too.
someone running the financials.
And somebody watching the employee, nobody, with all due respect, the inmates were running the asylum. And I mean that respectfully, because I'm going to stop short, but we needed people who could take charge and take responsibility of that empowering
I'm not
thing.
going to stop short. When I would watch the magistrate meetings,
He's gonna go long.
We're now going to say before Andy and after Andy. Before Andy, the magistrate meetings, I feel like that group of people that was there was trying to castrate the residents. And now you watch the magistrate meetings, and they're like, it's dismissed, it's done. There's no agenda. I mean, something's going on that wasn't going on then. I'm now. It sounds like all I'm doing is kissing your ass, but it just sounds like it is a big difference.
Because I think that's what I was hired to do. That's what I always say. Okay, well, somebody, you give somebody a raise or you give somebody a pat on the back. Well, that's what you're hired to do. So when you do something more than your job, okay, then, way to go. Good job. Whoa. But I was hired to do the job, and I knew what the job was. And the job was to make life simpler, right? To make it where it's more user friendly, that type of thing. Having Joe in there and shout out to Joe Onzik. I'm telling you, he's really done a great job. One thing that you're going to see when you get to this audit is that government accounting is different than just general regular business accounting. And you're gonna see that we're probably gonna come in, with an excess, and what Joe refers to as an emergency of approximately $3 million that we were under budget that now we can use for our emergency funds and things like that. So we have our co-payments and things that we can pay, our share of FEMA stuff going forward. We're trying to set things up for success in the future. If a new manager comes in, they don't have to worry about that. I
Yeah.
feel like my strength has been is organizational.
Yes.
And I think that's something that I really harp on with staff. And again, it's the things that can slide between the cracks. It's as simple as putting somebody on FMLA leave when they get sick, have to have an operation or surgery, filling out the paperwork, just having somebody that knows that. And we have a HR director that gets right on that. She gets it, so you need to have that in place. And we work with a minimal staff actually, because there's 2 positions. I combine basically 2 departments or divisions under one person to save money and to be more efficient. So we're trying to create that dynamic where we're financially stable.
Are you a Gulf of America person or Gulf of Mexico?
I grew up in Gulf of Mexico because that's really what we all knew, but I'm a big Gulf of America fan.
All righty. We have Gulf of America shirts. What size are you, Andy? Large? Large shirt for Andy, Gulf of America. You got to go something with Beach
I'm a
Talk.
medium, but I'll buy my shirt.
No, that's right. Can't give the gifts to the town. I gave Chris a coffee cup on his way out. And he uses his cup.
How dare you say?
Yeah,
well, we can give it to you when you
that's
are
right.
done.
Yeah, post.
Yeah.
So
I'll pay for it.
Gulf of America, you too, right? Big time.
Yeah, I'm the golf. I mean,
Yeah,
I
golf.
Whatever.
I'm the
The
golf.
golf.
To me, it's a
The sea.
someone's playing chess while everybody's watching checkers,
Right.
right? It's
So-
a lot of conversation about the name of a body of water
I know.
when that is just keeping people busy.
So, Andy, the Seagate obviously was a big issue on the beach. This development order thing kind of put the town manager in a different position that the town manager has ever been in to be involved in something like that. Is the development agreement or development order a good thing for the next town manager to be involved in, or do you wish that never came across your desk?
I've been involved in other towns a little more than I was here. Typically, my finance director really has taken the lead on that strictly because it's a funding issue and things. Okay, what do we got to pay for? I am a big fan of actually getting. I just flashed back to a former mayor and council. They call them goodies. Getting goodies back for the town, that make a difference. For instance, completely redoing a water system that goes 500 yards.
Fair enough.
Completely, paying for part of the streetlights, paying for putting it in a fund for parking, whatever problems. Dan and I've talked a lot about funds, parking funds, and things we can do with impact fees and how we can do things like that. The village of Bal Harbor over on in Miami-Dade County, they're building. If you pay your building fees, you get your permit fees. That goes in a silo, just can be used for building. But if you make a payment, an impact fee payment, that goes for something else. So they've kind of created it, and they don't do all of them that way. It's kind of, they prop the general fund up. They prop because you could put $30 million in the building fund, and all of a sudden it takes 30 years to even get halfway down that. So
Are they any closer to the impact fees?
Wait. Can we hold off on that? Because I don't think you answered my question. Do you think the development agreement or what is it called? Agreement or order, whatever it is.
Agreement.
Do you think would you prefer it not be part of the town manager's responsibility now? I mean,
No, I think it should probably be more so because I think because remember, this has just started here. It's there's not been a lot. We call them development orders in the previous town. So very similar thing, but I think the manager really should, and probably the attorney as well, because there's so many legal things.
So you were involved in the Seagate one because it was really the first big one that came across.
They started it, and then it came to me at a point.
Did the town get enough goodies?
I don't think we ever get enough.
Did the town get enough goodies with that one?
I really don't recall everything in it. You probably do. It's Gulf of America.
Let's say you were retired yesterday and you're driving back to see your lovely wife today. Would you say the Seagate vote was good or bad?
Oh my God.
You don't have to answer. He doesn't have to answer anything I ask him. Is it good for the
Gulf
community?
of America is.
Don't you dare jump in.
Yeah. He is right.
All right. We'll let it go. We'll let it go.
I didn't have a vote. I didn't have a vote.
Are you any closer?
Would you have voted yes or no?
Okay. Are you any closer to getting the impact fees? Where are they at with getting those developed?
Yeah, I would think here in the next.
It's been a while.
It's not. I mean, it's not something you could just put
He's
a
nodding.
Yeah. Well, he would be better to answer that than I would. He's directing staff. We were told, I thought by the end of March, early April, that we would have Jason Green come before us and kind of give us, and obviously he was there once already. We gave him some direction. So now he can implement that and bring it back to us. I'm guessing within the next month, we should probably see him back in front of us. So
and
I think it's important it's important to make sure you get it right. And no one, until they get a land development order, the fees still get impacted. So even though there's approval for a development and that development is moving forward, you can still impose the impact fees up until the point they get a land development order.
Make them worthwhile.
So I know we're
every developer you've ever talked to or had on your show, and any person you ever talked to, they fully expect to pay.
Yeah, they're going to pay it.
So Andy, what are you going to miss the most about Fort Myers Beach?
You don't have to say me because I'm sitting right here.
It's going to be the people.
You did get emotional when you told those 5 that you weren't coming back. You were reading a script, which you never have done before at that town council meeting.
And my wife's watching, so I had typed something, sent it to her, and she corrected it, which was the right thing, because there was a few things I might have said that probably would have been a little more open-ended as far as I'm concerned. So she did do a great job there. And, I think, I really have gotten close to staff. I feel like there's some young ones on the staff. I can say that now. You can't call an applicant young, but you can call staff member, some in their 20s and 30s that I've kind of been mentoring a little bit just with how a government should be run. Because think of 2 years ago, and some of them had exposure either to no government or the previous government. So I feel like a government should be run a certain way, that no part is bigger than the whole, and that everybody's part contributes to the success of the whole. So I think we've got a great opportunity with the staff going forward. I think it's a big decision coming up before the council, because I think while my decision impacts some decisions, the ultimate decision that the council is going to make is going to impact potentially some more decisions. There's been conversation. I'm encouraging people to stick it out, that they have more to offer. And what you typically see is and Amy Baker's one of the good examples, staying power clerk with staff, and then you have town managers that leave. So that staying power, the people who should and probably are doing the majority and the bulk of the work, are the ones that need to be here. And so I'm really encouraging them to do that. There was some, everybody was shocked.
Sure.
And there were some tears that afternoon, and there was, some of them are like family. And I think we've gotten pretty close. I mean, I talked to John King when he was on vacation out in what's that?
Maui.
Hawaii?
The American Ocean. When he was in Hawaii, and and Jim and I talk, and Karen and Scott and Dan, obviously.
And what's his name over here?
Yeah, and I think I'll miss that, because that is hard to come by.
So
I don't know that I'm going to another town. I don't expect to do that at all. And and we had that conversation already at one point. And so I think we've got. I'm looking at a few things. I'm even looking at teaching at
nice.
a graduate program in North Florida.
Cool.
So I've that's just a course.
So Andy, it's always interesting. When you work at radio stations, you have general managers that leave the radio station and go do something else, and they have created a staff at the radio station that the staff grows to love a manager. Their staff has grown to love you. Now a new manager comes in, and the staff member calls you and says, "Oh man, this guy or lady is doing blah blah blah." What do you do then? They're your friends now. They're not your employees. Now they're your friends. How do you? What is the right answer to something like that?
Well, obviously, I'm listening to some of those conversations now. They'll never replace you, and I'm like, everybody can be replaced. First of all, different personality. You have to look for that. Obviously, I'm encouraging them now. The one thing that I would always say, be transparent, go and talk to them, express your feelings, try to come to some kind of workable solution. And if not, just quit. No, I would not do that. But if not, just try to work it out. Try to come up with solutions. Again, I'm trying now. I'm kind of feel like I'm managing for the next guy now with what I'm trying to do now.
Yeah.
To get them in a good position. I'm at the next council meeting. If you watch, I'll probably get them all mad, just in case the next person gets them mad. They're already warmed up for it, so it's like getting them.
Like he's never done that.
Get them game ready. Isn't that what a good coach does? Gets everybody game day ready. So it depends on who your opponent is. But no, I think just encouraging them, if you equip them and prepare them for the success, then there's nothing they can't handle. And I'll also tell them, you've already been through the toughest part.
Yeah.
You didn't know me. You just come off the back end of a devastating event.
Yep.
And you survived. So I think the worst has already happened. It can't get any worse. I mean, unless they give you, a horrific disease or something, and they're not going to do that. Don't let them win. Don't let them win. Always take the high road and stay on the high road.
Yeah, the next manager, it falls on the 5 people that this town elected to lead, and nobody knows. Nobody knows Commissioner Maleka.
Commissioner Maleka and his 2 sons just came in, and John McLean from the LPA is here.
So the next manager, it's our job to make sure we get it right. We talk to the people every single day. All 5 of us are always active in the community. We hear the good and the bad from the people, what they love, what they hate. There's obviously way more good than hate. I think it's our job to make sure we vet the next person to let them know. And I think that's why it's very important to have Andy be able to have some time with whoever the next person might be. In a perfect world, hopefully that works out. We won't know until we go through the interview process. But I think setting the expectation of, here's what it's going to be. Here's because as Andy has said, they're interviewing us as much as we're interviewing them. And I'd rather have someone come in with their eyes wide open that understands. I don't think this council could be any more clear that we fully support our staff. We will not throw our staff under the bus. If there's a problem, we will admit there was a problem and we'll fix it and we'll move on. And that's all you can do, because everybody makes mistakes, right? Nobody's perfect. And I think that's all you can do. And we've seen both sides of the spectrum, right? We've seen, I won't use the word dictatorship, but you did. So we've seen how it's been one person runs the entire show and everybody else is ancillary. And if I've got 3 people on my side, that's how I'm going to govern.
Yeah.
I don't think I think you should always strive to be unanimous. We know that's not a reality, but it is, I would say 90% of the time, all 5 of us are on the same page. We may disagree on a few things, but at the end of the day, we all respect the process. We all respect what the manager's duties are. We make our decision, and then that decision's done. You move on to the next one, right? And you move on to the next one, and you try to improve every day. And I think as long as we can get someone that's willing to work with the council and work with the community, because it's, we're just an extension of the community. The community is going to tell us what they want. His phone probably blows up more times than I can imagine but we try to stay proactive too. If we see something happening or someone brings something to our attention, he's the first person to find out. If we don't know about it, we can't fix the problem.
Yeah, like a golf cart driving on a sidewalk.
But what's nice about it is we've come to a point now. I could tell you when I first got elected in 2020, people were afraid to reach out to the government. They were afraid of retaliation. That's no way that a town should ever operate. You should be able to go in and tell someone.
People don't fear reaching out now.
No, and that's good. That's how you can make things better. If you have a problem, let us know. If we made a mistake, we'll say we're sorry and we'll move on.
Yeah, if you don't know, you can't fix it. And one thing that I've committed to this elected body and to the town is that if I will help with the transition as much as possible. But of course, it's going to be up to the new town manager if they want me to help with the transition. So that they gave me that opportunity with Keith and Chris, and I took advantage of it. So that manager's got to be comfortable in his or her skin to be able to do that, because you get 2 type A potentially that they might not like it as much.
So lastly, Andy, and we appreciate you coming on and answering all the questions the way that you have, and for the 2 years that you've dedicated to Fort Myers Beach. Thank you so much for all of that. It's been amazing to work with you and the staff. Even,
and even having to deal with him.
I mean, honestly, if I could talk about every time I wanted to interview somebody, I would run it through Andy, and it was never a no. It was never a no, from Chad's long videos that we did with the beach renourishment to anybody. But I also tried not to abuse any relationship that we had and get the information out there as quickly and fairly as possible. What would you like to say to the people of Fort Myers Beach that live here and visit here?
Well, stay tuned for a new podcast coming.
Good one.
We did joke about he and I and Frankie were going to do a podcast when we're all done with this.
Hey,
Not in competition.
Everybody else does.
Not a competition. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know already about yourselves. It's a unique community, a melting pot,
Eclectic,
basically
eclectic.
of the Midwest. I've never dealt with more Midwesterners than I have here. So it's a wonderful group of people. You're passionate about where you live. You're passionate about this area, and I think it's really a very positive for setting a course for the future. Is the fact that everybody's you've been supportive of me. So that is up to the next person to come in and earn that. I talk to staff when I come in. I'm loyal to them. I'm loyal to you until you show that not. I have to earn my loyalty to you because you have to watch me and how I treat you and how I let you do things. They come to me. I try to give staff direction. They still come with questions because a lot of them are younger and they're trying to forge their path and they're afraid of making mistakes. And I say, it's okay to make a mistake. Let's just not let it be a costly mistake. Let's let it be something we can prepare and fix in the future. I'm excited about the future here. It's going to be more resilient than it's ever been. I mean, if you just look at the homes being built, the way they're being put back, I know everybody would like to have it back the way it was. I get that. But unfortunately, there's so many things that come into play with the state and federal government that we just have to do. You just have to do different. And we're going to be doing that. And you're going to be doing that. But just continue the fight, stay resilient. We went through what was the outskirts of 4 hurricanes since I've been here, and I like the way we recovered. And I think I prepared your staff, our staff, for the next storm. I think we're prepared, and we've created those partnerships with the Lee County Sheriff's Office and with the Fort Myers Beach Fire District, and with the state and with the federal government and the local county government to do the right things and get back quicker and to do what we can. I get it. Devastating hurricanes are one thing. A flood is a different thing. But we were able to show you got to have dry runs, right? We actually had real runs, and you don't know until you know. And we were glad. I was glad that we were able to respond the way we did.
Dan, what do you want to say?
Well, I think he nailed it. I think, unfortunately, we've been battle tested with 5 hurricanes in 2.5 years. Nobody ever wants to see that. Hopefully, we don't have to deal with that for decades. Hopefully nobody has to deal with that, but it's a reality of where we live, and having a process in place to make sure that, what I've learned the most out of all of this is you have to be ready to take care of yourself, right? There's not always going to be somebody there to come and help you. It's something my wife and I did right after we realized very quickly that we weren't going to be getting any help with a place to live. So we had to take matters into our own hands. So I think if you can make decisions knowing that you're prepared to be able to do things on your own, we'll certainly swallow our pride and we will ask for help and we'll ask for a handout or a hand up anytime we can get it, which is very difficult for people to do. This community is not that community that likes to just ask for help, but sometimes you can't do everything on your own. And I think as long as you have a good plan in place, you've got good communication with your fire district, your county commissioners, your county staff, and the state officials. The state has shown we can get through anything. We can make decisions quickly, pivot, and get people back to their homes as fast as possible. And dry runs is no pun intended. But we've had several wet runs. But I think if you saw after Milton, we've shown that we've made great strides to be able to get people back on very quickly. And it's all about having a good process. And if there's a tweak in the process, there's this council and this staff are not afraid to make a tweak to make it better.
All right.
Andy, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Andy Hyatt, everybody, the town manager of Fort Myers Beach. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Dan, for coming on. Dan. Appreciate you guys very much.
Thank you, Ed.
Good luck. Thank you, Kimmy. All right, before you hang up the phone, everybody, need to tell you about our sponsors, including Parrot Key. Oh, man, Parrot Key had like an Ohio day and a Wisconsin day. And now they're just having regular days where it's packed down there on the other side of the bridge. Waterfront dining at Salty Sam's Marina. It's island time all the time at Parrot Key. They have a website, everybody. Yes, myparrotkey.com. That's myparrotkey.com. They have car shows that happen the 1st and 3rd of every Monday in April. So get on down to Parrot Key and tell them We heard their goofy ad on Beach Talk Radio, but we appreciate their being a sponsor. Also, Jorge Barrera is one of our sponsors with Premier Plus Realty. He has built a solid reputation in the Fort Myers Beach area. He's a bit under the weather now, so if you know Jorge's phone number or email address, he's got the flu. That's why he's not here, or he was going to be on with us during the parade yesterday, so we wish him well. Hope he's feeling better. His approach to real estate is not just about closing deals. It's about building relationships, like Andy did. Like Andy built relationships with the staff and with the community. And now he's riding off into the sunset for the next town manager to take over. Thank you to Jorge Barrera. Give him a call, 239-791-9893, 239-791-9893. And finally today, the Island Pancake House, which is open in the Seagrape Plaza. They serve breakfast and lunch. They're open 7 days a week, 7:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. And they will stay open longer for the Hansons who like to have a little beverage in the afternoon after they have their pancakes. Thank you to Doreen and Perry Hansen for coming to the show today. All the way down from the South End. They beat this traffic. Man, she's not happy she had to get up early twice this weekend and lost an hour of sleep. But the Island Pancake House is in the Seagrape Plaza. And we appreciate those guys so much. Please go down there and spend a pound of 50s if you can. That'd be nice of you. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks to Andy and Dan. And we will see you at 2 o'clock at the Shrimp Eating Festival. Bye-bye.